All right, welcome back, everybody. Two Hard Things Nation to another edition of the Weekly Wake Up. It's Monday morning. It's time to get going. I'm Jay Teagues, and I have in studio with me Tom Kyatt. God, I always Kia Teepees because it's short.
Yeah,
I always
short.
I
I
when I
don't even
first
have to say my last name. I just call myself Tom, man. I don't
Tom.
know.
It's just Tom. Tom, how you doing this morning, brother?
Doing great. How about you?
I'm doing great. It's Monday morning. I got up and it's that time of year here in the Ozarks. We have our weather changes throughout the year. Yours probably stays pretty steady, but here the leaves are starting to change. It's getting a little crisp in the morning. It's cooler,
Right.
and I enjoy it. I enjoy it before the leaves fall, but right now it's really pretty because all the leaves are changing. Crisp morning. Got up. Got a 10-mile run in and feeling pretty good. How about yourself? I know last week you were out sick. How are you feeling?
Feeling like $1,000,000, man. Feeling really good.
You look good this morning. You're back in action.
Back in action. Everything's good.
That's awesome. Well, this week we're going to talk about this is one of the hardest things for me is to be kind to someone that's not kind to you, being kind to an unkind person. And how do you do that? And why should you do that? Why not just be a dick back to someone that's being a dick to you? But what I have learned over the years is if you want kindness in the world, you got to sprinkle it in there. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean like to capitulate and not to be strong. It's not a sign of weakness, but don't let someone ruin you or wreck you emotionally because they're being unkind, and maybe give you some strategies to help you do that. So what do you think about that topic?
What do I think? I think it's on a case per case situation.
Yes.
Some people I've got a different approach than others.
Well, some people, I try to be kind to unkind people, and as we roll out the steps of why, but there's sometimes some people, sometimes bullies need to be punched in the nose too, and sometimes you can temper that accordingly. But as a rule, you should try to be kind because you don't know what someone's going through, and
Yeah, exactly.
but some people deserve it. Some people deserve it.
I take a look at a person who is unkind and hurting. And if I think they're open to a little bit of love, a little bit of support, then hey, great. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to try to help them out. And there are people like that. Uh, get them feeling good about themselves, and they're going to change for the better. For the most part, though, there's so many people that are unkind that I'm just going to I'm going to invest my energy elsewhere. I'm not even going to bother. They don't exist to me. I'm not going to bring myself down trying to correct somebody who's unkind. I'm not going to waste my time. And that's the short answer of it all. But I know you've got some steps, and I agree with you that you want a better world. You want to embrace people.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So as we go through the steps, we can kind of riff on each one of these topics because, like you said, sometimes people don't. Sometimes people deserve a dose of their own medicine, but like you said, if you're around people like that that are constantly unkind, maybe we turn the volume down. But let's just get through the steps. So bottom line is that the world is incredibly. It can be cruel sometimes. There's a lot, especially on social media, where people are keyboard warriors and people are hiding behind their screens. They say a lot of unkind things to people, and a lot of people take it incredibly personal. And so sometimes they're just nasty to other people for whatever reason, and we don't really know what's going on, why they would do that. We don't understand what's going on in the world, but if we can try to understand, maybe we can try to figure it out and apply some of these strategies to maybe help them out, because maybe they don't necessarily want to be unkind. They're just that way, or maybe they're going through something in their life that we don't know about. So everyone's fighting a battle that we may not know about, which might be why they're being kind of an ass. And when someone treats you poorly, the first thing you should ask yourself is why do you think that individual's doing that? Why do you think they're doing that? Maybe it's because they're dealing with their own life challenges. Maybe they're based off their own experiences. Maybe they're just selfish. Maybe they're just selfish ego prick. Who knows? Maybe they don't know any better. Not saying that that's excusable, but maybe they grew up in an environment around other selfish people and they just don't know any better. Maybe they don't know how to be kind. And so those are some reasons why. And if you can try to figure out how to empathize with that, maybe maybe that will prompt you to be forgiving and sprinkle some kindness back. Why do you think somebody would be unkind, Tom? Anything else comes to your mind?
Oh man, I think you nailed it on the head, Jay. To be honest with you, I'm more concerned about how I'm going to respond to these people. That's that's all there is to it. I can easily block them out. Life goes on. I pour my energy elsewhere. So, do I really care? Not really. Like I said, unless they're willing to open up and become different, I don't really care why they feel that way. But I would say just a couple of reasons why you said low
Yeah.
self-esteem, challenges in the past, bad perspective, selfishness, totally.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so many reasons why they could be treating other people poorly. But how can we deal with someone that's being unkind to us? Because ultimately we're trying to be kind to other people and sprinkle some kindness out there. So the first strategy is just to try to have some empathy. Try to maybe come to an understanding. Like we just the aforementioned. Maybe it's just their own experiences. Maybe they're just having a bad day. Maybe they're having a fight with their partner. Maybe they had it in with their kids. Maybe they're sick. Maybe they have maybe they just got some really bad news today that they went to the doctor and they got some tragic news, or maybe they went to work today and they lost their job. I mean, who knows? This is kind of more for the stranger, right? The person that you might bump into, that maybe that person that cuts you off in traffic, right? For people that though, I think like kind of going back to what you said, there's two different camps of people, maybe a couple different camps of people. It's the person that's consistently unkind that you may have to work with, and they're just rude and they're just nasty people. Those are the people we may want to try to limit contact with. But for the person that you may just run into the grocery store that's just being a dick, maybe there's a little bit of grace there because we don't know what they're going through. But nonetheless, we try to maybe express some kindness to them to maybe help them. Maybe you're the only person that is kind to them that day.
Oh man,
So
I need some examples, Jay. I'll tell you, if you're yelling at your wife in an amusement park, you slap your kid, or you're mean to a teller, I'm going to shut you down. I'm going to take that person and I'm going to verbally comment, and I'm going to be very aggressive in putting that person down, because you don't do that in public. Something like that, I'm going to approach it completely different. There's no empathy, zero empathy. I'm going to put him in line. Now,
yeah,
I'm trying to think of an example where I want to show compassion and empathy, but I just can't think of one right now. You have an example?
well, kind of going back to what you said, I have a very, very short fuse when a man is unkind or being like abusive verbally or whatever to another woman, whether it's their partner or you see it. I see it in the bar from time to time. People get sloppy drunk and they're doing stupid things. And I have a disrespecting. I don't have a lot of tolerance for that. As far as like someone being unkind, I think about. Okay, so I don't know why this just popped in my head, but I had an instance where I was traveling cross country, and I had to hit my. This was not long ago when my transmission. I was having an issue with my transmission. I was trying to get through the toll booths in West Virginia, and I was trying to explain my situation to the toll booth person, and they just didn't have they just didn't have any empathy for my situation. I got my 3 kids in the back of the car. I'm on the side of a mountain. I had issues getting my vehicle out of gear. And essentially they just kind of like pushed me off on the side of the road and just kind of left me there. And I wanted to go back to the toll booth after I got out of the car and just rip them a new ass for what they just did to me. But I'm like, you know what? They've got a job to do. I felt that they were being very unkind and unsympathetic to me and didn't want to help me. But I just kind of blessed it and released it because I thought that maybe, I think I had a lot of anger and rage in me at that time. I probably would have said some things that were unkind. So I probably just kind of distanced myself. But that was the last time that I felt that someone was really impatient and unkind and not empathetic. Someone that should have been, because I felt that should be their job. My vehicle's stalling out. I've got a legit car problem, and they just kind of shoved me out of the way. And kind of like were annoyed with me that I was having these issues and causing a traffic jam behind me.
Yeah. Well, you take a look at Border Patrol. people at customs, they're usually dicks. They're usually assholes. All right, but they've got a job. You kind of respect the fact that they've got a job and they're letting people into the country. Yeah, I think you need to be discerning, and I think presenting a certain image, a little scarier kind of approach. I get it. So in that kind of situation, I can see that lack of kindness because it's part of the role. Just as you're as a toll booth person, the other person's in a booth for 8 hours. They're in a standing coffin, just figuring out the days. Can't wait till Saturday. I got some empathy for that. Person's pissed off. Say, hey, buddy, have a good day, man. Just everything will be okay. That's a different story.
Yeah. Yeah. I was trying to think of another situation where someone might have been unkind. Okay, so this is something when I was a recruiter in the military. I had some people would be very, very cool. I was a recruiter in St. Louis area, in the metro St. Louis area. A lot of people were very kind. This is just the height of the Iraq war early on. And a lot of people were very kind, very empathetic. Like they thank you for your service. I might be the only soldier that they ever talked to. So some people were tremendously kind, very patriotic. A lot of veterans were kind. They'd buy us our meal all the time. Very humbling. But every now and then you would find someone that would just be an outright ass to you.
Yeah. And
that was hard not to take it personal, but it would be like it's a federal mandated law that the military contacts every senior in high school, and they can opt out of that. But if they don't, we are required to call until we make contact. And so we would get hung up on the phone. Sometimes the senior would make an appointment with us and we would show up to the house, but they didn't tell their parents. And the parents would be like, oh, hell no. Oh, not my child. And they would, I've been thrown basically going there to do an appointment and basically thrown off their porch. It was hard not to take it personal, but it wasn't me. They were basically rejecting the government because, there's a lot of politics with the Iraq and Afghanistan war and the military. And they're just thinking, not my son. I want to protect, I don't want my son or daughter to go off to war. But it was very difficult to not take that personal, especially given the amount of pressure that we had to recruit people and whatnot.
Exactly.
And I remember handing a business card to people and then they would flick it back at me, stuff like that. It's just like, oh my God, I want to choke you right now. I want to punch you in the face right now, but I can't. It's taking every bit of restraint not to do that. And I've got to be professional, right? It's just okay. But not be show weakness either, right? And I think if you lose your emotional control, that is a sign of weakness. But it's very difficult when someone treats you poorly like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, but yeah,
that's a good example for sure.
I had this was a tough one for me one time. I had a police officer treat me unkind one time. And I thought that was unwarranted. And I think most police officers, are fantastic, but just like every organization, you probably have a bad one here or there, just like anything, right? But I think it was so disappointing to me because I put police officers on such a pedestal. But I was basically I was a recruiter. Yet another thing, I was in uniform, which would really shock me, right? And I was in a traffic jam in downtown St. Louis, and I had someone rear-ended me. I was in my government-issued car. And no matter what, it didn't leave that much of a mark, like a little scratch, but because it was a government vehicle and I was a new recruiter, I had to get a police report. If it were my personal vehicle, I would have driven on, wouldn't have been a big deal, but I had an applicant in the car. And I pulled over and it was probably this time of year, it's probably November. And it was sleeting. There's a little bit of snow on the ground. Traffic was kind of backed up because of weather conditions and it was rush hour. We waited a good maybe hour and a half for the police officer to arrive to do a police report. And I think the police officer was so pissed off because of he's probably having a bad day, but the way he approached me and the way he just looked at me like I was nuts because there's a scratch on the bumper and he was going to have to file a report. I don't know what he had to go through to get there, but I'm like, my hands are tied. But he was raising his voice at me and yelling at me, asking me like who my commanding officer was. And like, I thought he was being incredibly unprofessional, like at a much elevated level than it needed to be. And it really hacked me off because I'm like, dude, this is not that big of a deal. Like, this is not, why are you yelling at me? And so it escalated to a point where I basically went and filed a report for his behavior. And I don't know. That was just another time where I was like kind of surprised at someone's unkind behavior toward me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I have no idea what that gentleman went through that day either. I did make mention to it because I'm like, man, what I did not warrant his behavior toward me. But at the same time, I don't know what the man went through today. Who knows what the police officer went through? But it was definitely uncharacteristic and just unbecoming, in my opinion.
Yeah. There's a big difference between chronological age and emotional age. And I'm finding more and more so that you could be 40, 50, 60 chronologically, and you're still emotionally functioning at a lower level, a significantly lower level. You haven't matured, you haven't acquired wisdom. And I just accept that in a lot of people, most people actually, where they didn't let that emotional intelligence catch up. And I expect people to have weaknesses and moods and emotions that are going to get the better of them. And in those cases, it's kind of like, I understand it. You're insecure. You have a bit of an ego trip. You've been given some power. I get it. I shouldn't tolerate it, but sometimes you have no choice. In that situation, Jay, you didn't have a choice. You fight back at that guy, and he's going to snap back even harder because he's emotionally weak.
Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right. People, there are different levels of emotional maturity. And I think people that have low emotional maturity are the ones that are oftentimes, they're the most, they have the biggest mood swings sometimes.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. And I think, psychological maturity is basically regulating, like knowing, having awareness of your emotions and being able to regulate them more effectively. Because some people have no awareness of their emotions whatsoever. They just,
no, they don't.
You got the two sides of the brain. You got the logic brain and you've got emotional brain. And usually emotional brain is usually the one that's in charge of the driver's seat.
Yeah.
And recent podcasts where I've had like mindset coaches on that were that specifically focus on emotions. One of the biggest things that helped me the most was Nick Maytash, who came on one of the earlier episodes of the podcast to talk about like expanding your emotional vocabulary. Because most people only have like 4 or 5 emotions. Yes, I'm feeling happy, or I'm pissed off, or I'm bored, like I'm in between. And that's about it. But if you look at Abraham Hicks' scale, there's like 22 emotions. What are you really feeling? And why are you feeling that way?
Yeah.
And if you're aware of it, then you can modulate and move yourself up and down the ladder. But most people have no awareness of their emotion. They're just living in the moment.
You're right. Jay, I find a big thing that people get flustered about is ever so increasingly, you look at social media, you look at Facebook, usually it's Facebook, it's other social media as well. People will comment, people are very free to comment. And I feel less disappointed in the person who comments negatively and more disappointed in the person who reacts to that negative comment. My take on it is this: with social media, you don't know some of these people. As far as I'm concerned, if there's a negative comment, they're just blocked. I don't even waste my time. I just block them. I didn't get onto Facebook to have Facebook arguments with a stranger. They're just blocked. It's that simple. The moment you engage in an argument with somebody to prove your point, when you're not going to be successful, you're not against that person, against a stubborn rock, it's not going to happen. Then it's on you. And then you're the one showing a lack of emotional intelligence. So just block them. Just get rid of them. Gone.
Yeah,
You were not your friend before.
There's probably not a day that goes by that I don't scroll through my Facebook and I see someone triggered or losing their emotional control over a variety of different topics. Usually it's politics, news, something silly.
Every day you see these Facebook fights. Start laughing. I'll see somebody criticize somebody else, like a friend or whatever, and they're blocked. They're gone. I know one guy criticized one of your posts, and he was a quote unquote friend of mine. No longer. He's just deleted. I don't know
Just
the guy anymore. He's deleted. I will never see his posts again. Delete. Done. I commented actually. I said something in your defense, and then I just deleted him. He's gone.
oh, I remember that. I mean, I vaguely remember that. Just yeah, just a silly, unnecessary, offhand comment that
It was
I
an
don't know.
unkind comment. It was very unkind.
Yeah. Don't know what the individual's going through, but you're right. Like your social media should be a space where you get to curate that. That's the cool thing about your social media is you get to curate that.
Yeah.
And you get to pick and choose who's in your circle and who you listen to. And
Oh
if you
yeah.
got someone out there that's constantly engaging and stuff, and arguing, there's a handful of people that I know that just trolling, right? They do it they get off on it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I got a list of a blocked list on Facebook of probably 300 deep. Now my wife would look at it and go like, Tom, you hate a lot of people. Like, what's going on? No, well, she knows. Just get rid of them. It's done. They're not in my world anymore. I didn't know them before. I choose to never know them. Just block. Huh. Get rid of the negative.
Don't hate them. It's just I don't need that white noise in my space.
No, not at all, man.
So no, it's easy to do. Well, a couple of strategies to help you deal with someone that's unkind. We talked a lot about just empathizing and understanding. You don't know what people are going through, but try to empathize and understand. And the second strategy, this is hard. This one is, it's one of the 4 agreements. Don't take things personally. Don't take things personally because you don't know what other people are going to. And one of the biggest things that I recall from the 4 agreements is if you don't have expectations of people, then you won't be as disappointed as often.
Yeah,
and
sure.
That is easier said than done. But as I think about it, as I find myself in situations, I'm always like, okay, don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. I don't know what they're going through. Don't take it personal. And I say that mantra over and over and over again, and it has helped. But that is something that I'm definitely still working on.
Yeah, I'll tell you when you don't take it personally is when you are ultra successful. And you got a very, very happy relationship. You're doing well career wise. You're physically fit, and you don't have any real weaknesses. So nothing really triggers you. It's when you actually know you have some weaknesses, and they poke you a little bit in a way that you don't appreciate it. That's when you snap. Otherwise, you don't give a shit. So then again, it's back on you now. It's back on you, and you fixing you, and not focusing on that external negative.
It's easier to not take it personal if you don't know the individual, if it's someone like at a restaurant or a bar or something like that.
Sure.
But if it's someone that you know, that's much harder to not take it personal.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but that's a hard one, but it is a strategy. So remind yourself, don't take it personal.
But if you're taking it personally, again, that's a weakness on your part. And I think then you look introspectively, and I'm not going to focus on that person. What's really bothering me? What's really triggering me? What got under my skin? Oh, that's what it was. Okay, I need to work on it. Somebody says something about my weight, for example. That's unkind. You say, hey, you're a little bit, you got a little bit of cellulite or whatever. Oh, that bothered me. Okay, I'm not going to take it out on the other person. The other person's a fucking asshole. But it means it does bother me. I need to take action to do something about it. It's now on me.
Yeah. So if you're taking it personal, then the next level, like why is it affecting you so deeply? There might be some introspection there that you need to do, right? Some work there.
Introspection and action.
The next strategy is to instead of offering judgment, maybe offering to help them. Maybe there's something that they need. Because usually when people are bent emotionally, our emotions are a trigger that we need something. Maybe we can help that person out. Maybe there's something that we can offer. Like, hey, pull them aside. Like, I understand that you're really upset right now. Is there something we can do for you? And in the military, with when you see soldiers that were kind of, you could tell when someone's going through a tough time.
Yeah,
that's the time that good leadership is pulling someone aside. Like, hey, man, I noticed you're a little off your A game today. You want to talk about that?
I like that, Jay. I like that.
Is there something that we can do for you? Because oftentimes people might have some personal issue that they're going on. I surely know that when I'm at odds with my daughter and I have an argument in the morning, and I take that negative energy with me for a little bit, right? And sometimes you'd snap at some people, not meaning to, but you're still stewing on that situation that you had earlier in the day.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing, though. You're bringing up an example where that person's in-house, though. That person is part of your direct community. You're going to see them a lot.
Yeah.
You have a vested interest in that person. That's part of a unit. So I think that type of person, they might be unkind, they might be an asshole, but you do have to get along with them. And reaching out to that person, say, hey, what's up, bud? I noticed you're not on your A game. It's such a good, soft approach, but it's a very caring, loving approach. It's coming from a place of integrity and wanting to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Really good advice.
That's definitely a solid one there that generally works. If nothing else, at least they know that shit, my behavior, like people are noticing,
Just imagine saying that to your wife. Hey, dear, I didn't notice you're not on your A game today. God, we didn't clean the house with me. That's why. There's a big difference.
It is. The next strategy, this is also a hard one. These are all hard. These are all be the better person. Someone's losing their shit on you, or they're getting emotionally charged. One strategy is like try not to match their voice. As their voice begins to elevate, cool, calm, and collective.
Be the better person. I think another word for that is be proactive versus being reactive. Reactive is pretty immature. Just being out there. I've been reactive. We've all been reactive. It happens. They get the best of you. Yeah, be the better person. Totally. Be proactive.
Be the better person. Try to kill them with kindness, and not lose your emotional control. Because if you match their energy, that's when things can really get explosive, right? And that's really difficult, because when someone is like raising their voice at you, it's very difficult to not like want to match their energy, right? And defend yourself.
Killing with kindness? I don't know, Jay. Again, it depends. I'd rather just say "fuck you." No, I don't know. I just walk away and just leave it at that. I'm not going to kill him with kindness, but in certain cases, it is.
This is situational dependent, right? This is you got all these different arrows in your quiver. Sometimes you want to kill them, Sometimes you just want to kill them with kindness, like de-escalate it.
Well, I like the analogy. Pull out the proper arrow, but then again, that's being proactive. That's putting in some insight. Okay, let me assess the situation, and let me pull out the right arrow from there.
Absolutely.
I love it. It's hilarious. So another tool is have your toolkit of how to deal with these people, and then you get that through experience.
Absolutely. So it's like having a bow and arrow and a bunch of quivers in your arrow, because sometimes there's different arrows for different applications.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to pull it out. And what is, anytime that you're shooting bow and arrow, it's skill. It's skill. It's not something that you got to go out and practice these things all the time, because if not, you're going to get rusty. So all the tools that we ever give you is just like putting another arrow in your quiver. And
another tool. I want to hear another one.
Yeah. You got to pick the application. So, the last one that I have, and you've already hit the nail on the head with this one, is limit contact. Like everyone's got a volume knob. Sometimes you just need to tell them to F off and just turn your back and go away. Or like you said, curate your Facebook, unfriend those people, put some distance in there.
Yeah.
So limit contact. If it's someone that you have to work with or a family member, you just try to give yourself some space and try to, I love you to death, but I'm just not going to make myself available to that. And being aware of that. So is there anything else that we could do that you can think of? I think those
right now, where things
we are.
We notice that, right? Again, proactive. Just try to have a level head. Understand where they're coming from. There's always different perspectives.
Yeah.
Right? Just because you see it one way, it doesn't mean that's the only way to see things, and we've seen numerous examples of that. Just keep it cool, man. I think you just got to keep their cool and put things in perspective.
Be cool as a cucumber.
Yeah.
All of these are hard. I have days where I'm better at this than others, but I'm definitely trying to be better at this. I get very agitated with people, especially because I like to people watch when I'm out and about. And I just see how people treat people.
Yeah.
And there's one phrase. Notice how people treat the waitress.
Yeah. We've seen that, right?
You can tell a lot about a person how they treat the waitress. So, but if you want kindness in the world, you got to sprinkle it there. Sometimes kindness is just I'm going to let you live and I'm going to walk away.
Yeah, yeah, big time. Yeah, big time.
So,
Where do you come up
all
with
right.
these topics, man? This was I know you had mentioned this topic. I'm like, oh shoot, man. Like again, this one has it's very situational. It really depends on what you encounter. But I think the overall message is what, Jay? What's the overall message about kindness and being kind to kind people?
Man, just be kind because we need it. We need it in the world. And I think that if we ultimately, our goal at the Do Hard Things Nation is to achieve our goals and live a fulfilling life. And to find fulfillment, you need to be around positive people and a
Yeah,
positive mindset
yeah,
and not be at odds with people, and you're going to run into people that are negative, and you're going to run into people, you're going to be at odds with people. There's going to be conflict from time to time.
sure.
But if we can mitigate that as much as possible, then we can live a fulfilling life. And I think that's ultimately in the realm of what we're trying to do here. How do we deal with negative people, and how do we not lose our emotional control so we can have as much fulfillment in our life as possible?
Yeah. To
And
age
how do
20,
you? What's that?
at age 23, I read a book that I haven't mentioned before. It was Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the habits is seek first to understand and then to
Hmm.
be understood. And I'll take a look at a situation where a person's an asshole and I'll say, okay, let me try to understand this situation. Uh, just so I get some clarity, just so that I can put my best foot forward with the situation. And I think that's really good advice. Just seek to understand the situation. You don't know what that person's going through. You don't know what life they're living,
Yeah,
and then you can assess from there. And again, that takes some emotional intelligence because usually what we do is we react. And I don't think reactions are necessarily a good thing. Not a bad thing in some cases, but just seek first to understand.
absolutely. So that's sound advice, and that really goes into just having total awareness of the situation, just being aware of what's going on. And when you seek to understand, you can get some knowledge and have a little empathy and grace with people, and that goes a long way. You don't have to match their energy.
Big time.
So, all right. Well, if I want to kind of transition here to my favorite part of the week, and that's to honor and recognize this week's Do Hard Things weekly wake up spotlight winner. And I'm excited about this one. This is, you guys see my screen here? This is Sid Bush. This is Sid Bush. He's a veteran of the U.S. Navy, and I had the honor and privilege of meeting him here recently, and he's 75 years old. He might actually be, I think he's actually 76 or 77 now, but he's ran over 205 full marathons and over 836 half marathons, that totals like 16,000 miles. That's enough to run across the United States mainland more than 5 times.
Yeah.
And he runs in honor of the fallen. And every race that he competes in, he runs for the fallen and he gives his medal. He meets the family and he gives his medal to that family. And so as you see him here across the finish line, he's embracing someone from the family and running in honor of them. And for Sid, every day is Memorial Day. He spent his career in the U.S. Navy, and he travels around to compete in these races to honor veterans, and he carries a flag at every one of these events. And after the event, he makes a very emotional presentation and gives the finisher medal to the family. And he was a submariner in the Navy, and is just a kind man who is just using his talents and abilities to make a difference, and not letting people forget that the sacrifices that have been made. And yesterday he ran his final half marathon. His his he's gonna tone it down to 5Ks and 10Ks, which are in his capability. And so we just want to say thank you, Sid, for what you do for representing and just reminding everyone of the sacrifices that are made, and just living your life on offense, right? And honoring people and doing hard things, and just appreciate what you do and living a life of service. So that
Number
is
one, he doesn't look 76. He looks at least a decade younger, number one. And number two, he's got a life of purpose. I'm sure he's well into retirement, but there's purpose. He's driven. That's a good lesson. Good lesson
abs-
for others out there. Just find your purpose and do great things.
Yeah, that he found his mission after naval service, and like you said, finding he could easily be at home. He lives out in South Carolina, mowing his yard, walking his dog. But he travels around and he lives a life of meaning and purpose, and I think we all need that. And he inspires the hell out of me. So thank you, Sid, for what you do.
Amazing.
So we'll reach out to you, get you a Do Hard Things shirt. So we appreciate you. And someone just said, yeah, find what drives you. Someone says, I definitely needed the message today because I try hard but fail often. Hey, we all fall short, right? But it's all about
welcome to the club. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're here. You're here listening to us, and that demonstrates that you're trying to be better. So no one's perfect. No one's infallible to mistakes, but we just try to be better every day. And that's why showing up, doing your personal growth and development, reading every day, listening to podcasts, engaging in a community of like-minded people is incredibly important. So,
yeah, I really appreciate the comments, because that shows that people are engaged, and the message to them is just one day at a time, be just a little bit better incrementally, and those days they add up. Those life lessons that you take in, day out, add up. You become a better person.
It's a small compounding interest of living life on offense and engaging these things.
Yes, I really appreciate the comments, and I really appreciate the guests. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for listening today. So, real quick, if you're ready to level up, you ready to take it to the next level? I'm wearing the Forge Mastermind Goal Crushing shirt. When you join the Forge, this is actually the old design. This is we have a new design, but this is what you get when you join the Forge. So if you're ready to join a community, we had 2 people join last week, and we're growing slowly every week. But you join a group of like-minded people. We have weekly accountability calls in there. You're going to be engaged with a community of people walking shoulder to shoulder. When they're wanting to throat punch somebody, it's a place that you can go into, like just vent it out, and have a place of where you can engage with other growth-minded people. And that's how you level up. That's ultimately fundamentally changed my life, which is why I started the Forge. And so if you'd like to learn more about that, you can go to doourthingsnation.com. You can reach out to me directly, and gladly hop on a call and explain to you the ins and outs of what that community does and how it can improve your life. So aside from that, go to doourthings.com, grab yourself some apparel, check out what events we have coming down the pike. And that's about it. Tom, is there anything we missed?
I just want to say I really like the OG shirt. That's a cool shirt. Yeah.
It's a very cool shirt.
Logo. That's a different logo.
Well, we put fortitude, focus, and grit at the bottom because the older ones have some Latin on it, so we changed it because I wanted the words grit, fortitude, and focus on it.
Yeah. Nonetheless, is that old school shirt available on the site?
No, you have to join the Forge. When you join the Forge, you get a shirt. So this particular shirt is not available.
Really?
Yep. This is the one you got to join the Forge. When you join, we send you a shirt.
Okay. Yeah, I like it.
So, all right. Well, that's all I got for today. We got to get on with the rest of the Monday. But for everyone out there listening, we appreciate you listening. Tom, great conversation today.
Yeah, likewise, brother.
So, all right, we'll see you guys next week. In the meantime, keep doing hard things.
Cheers.